What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Shellington Kirin Type A. This is a spring-powered bolt-action magazine-fed blaster with shell ejection, shooting exclusively half-length darts very, very hard. If it looks familiar, I recently reviewed the Shellington Renfield, which is essentially the same blaster, but this one is 3D printed. The new one is injection molded and way smoother in operation. Let's get into it. So the core design of the new Kirin is essentially the same as the Renfield, but I'm still going to overview it. Starting up with the front, there's no in-strike barrel lug, but this is a cool looking fake suppressor looking piece that also acts as a barrel cover. Underneath the blaster, we have a small piece of Picatinny right here. On top of the blaster, we have Picatinny all the way along the top, and on each side of the blaster, we have M-lock, space for whatever types of attachments you want. Moving back to the action, this is a spring-powered blaster using bolt action to prime. You do that. This is a deceivingly lightweight prime. It's very smooth. I don't know how they manage this. It feels like I'm priming back 150 FPS when I'm really priming back 230 FPS. It's incredibly smooth and super fun to rack this action. And nothing screams sniper rifle like bolt action. And what's cooler than bolt action? Shell ejection. This is not the first shell ejecting blaster that I've reviewed. Shellington's made a bunch, I've reviewed a bunch, but it still makes me giggle. Shell ejection is awesome. Moving down to the shells in the mag, to get the mag out, you hit the mag release, which is right here. This is a very touchy magazine release, and it happens to be very close to the grip. I accidentally dropped the magazine out about a dozen times during my testing procedure. It's a very touchy mag release, and the magazine gravity drops very easily. There are 3 color options for magazines: transparent orange, transparent black, and transparent. They painted it clear, bro! Loading the shells and magazine is the same as the other Shellington products. You just get your half dart and put it into the shell. This blaster is only compatible with half darts. It does not shoot full-length Nerf darts. But after you have your shell loaded up, you just put it into the mag. And again, the included magazine holds 7 rounds. And the new injection molded Shellington magazines are cross-compatible with the old 3D printed ones. So you can use the old 3D printed mags and 3D printed shells. There are minor differences in the design and how they're shaped, but they are cross-compatible. So after you have your loaded magazine, you can just shove it right back in there. You do not have to prime back the blaster. You can reinsert the magazine on a closed bolt. But when I have 7 shells loaded into the mag, I do have to give it a little extra oomph at the end, because the magazine pressure makes it a little trickier to see. And there's a slot cut in the mag well right here, so if your magazines are painted clear like this one, you're able to see through that to see how many shells you have left. And that's present on the right and the left-hand side. And if you see this bolt cut out, this blaster can be very quickly switched over to left-handed. So I have the bolt installed on the right-hand side because I'm a right-handed shooter. But if you're left-handed, you could switch it over pretty quickly. To do that, you remove the 3 quick takedown pins. They have little key rings on them, so you just pull them right out. When those pins are removed, the blaster can be separated super easy. Then you can just pull out the bolt, flip it over to the left, and reinsert it. And reassembly is pretty quick, but you do have to pay attention to what you're doing. This plunger rod is directional. The notch has to be on the top. So you line up the plunger rod with this rear orange piece, slide it in, then you shove the whole plunger rod into the stock. You are essentially priming the blaster. Then you just connect the 2 halves and reinsert your body pins. Just be careful because you did just prime the blaster. Don't touch the trigger. And once it's all reassembled, you're going to want to hold the bolt rear and then deprime the blaster gently. And if you switch the bolt over, you're also going to want to remove this ejector piece and put it on the other side. This piece ensures the shells eject away from you, not in your face. Back to the overview, down to the trigger. The trigger pull is pretty normal. This blaster does not have slam fire. And keep in mind, there is no trigger lock. This allows you to deprime the blaster to prevent a dry fire. And with a blaster this powerful, that's a good thing. You don't want to dry fire it, but just remember that. So if you prime back the blaster, don't touch the trigger, or this is going to slam forward. It could catch your fingers or it could damage a part. It's not dummy proof. It is a high performance Nerf blaster, so just be careful with the action. Now down to the grip. Overall, it's a pretty comfortable grip. This is probably the most neutral looking grip I've ever seen. The nature of the thumbhole stock does restrict your wrist movement a little bit, but it's still fairly comfortable. And the size of the grip feels pretty good for my large adult hand, but I'm pretty sure a kid's hand could use this just fine. Overall, a good grip. Now back to the stock. This is a non-adjustable, non-removable stock. No moving parts, it's all one piece, which makes it really rock solid to prime off of. And I find it funny, on the left-hand side it says for human use only. The aliens are gonna come down and cancel Shellington for being speciest. And in the rear of the stock, you have a texture change. This is a rubber butt plate back here, which makes the blaster feel a little more high-end and luxurious rather than just straight plastic. That is an external overview of the Kirin Type A. Now I'll show you it firing. Shooting red Worker Gen 3 half darts. Now cycling some ammo out of the 3D printed magazines and 3D printed shells. Not again. Maybe I need to get thicker cardboard. Operating the Kirin is super fun. This blaster is such a smooth operator. And the prime action is so deceivingly light, it doesn't feel like you're priming back a spring in order to shoot the velocity that it does. It's deceiving, it's lightweight, it's smooth, it feels so good to rack this bolt. My play experience on this one was super positive. And I did not experience any major jams or malfunctions with this blaster. However, I did notice a few super minor ejection hiccups when I tried to prime the blaster at a super weird angle. But the ejection works just fine when you shoot flat or just at a minor angle. I had a few ejection issues when I was trying to like prime it upside down. Because you know me, I'm doing hardcore parkour. And to compare this blaster to others, I put it up on my chronograph. And with Worker Gen 3 half-length darts, I achieved an average velocity of 232 feet per second, which is super hard, way past super stock. This is into ultra stock range. But I have to note, they say this blaster is supposed to come with 3 springs. I only got 1, and I'm pretty sure I have the strongest spring. Because I didn't receive the other springs, I obviously can't chrono with the other springs. But those are the results I got with the sample I was sent. So that's the objective information I can provide on this blaster. Now to my personal opinion. Overall, I am blown away by the Kirin. Absolutely super positive opinion on this one. The bolt action is wicked smooth, it's super fun to use, and with an emotional blaster like this that's not really performance oriented, it's all about your emotional response, how fun it is to actually handle, to shoot, to play with, to just walk around with. The balance, weighting, and handling of the blaster is exceptional. It shoots wicked hard, tight groups, the shells eject consistently, it's super fun to use, the injection molded parts. So overall, super positive opinion on this one. But a few minor gripes, you know me, I have to complain about everything. First, these takedown pins have these little key rings on them so you can grab them easily, but they make a lot of noise, and it kind of took away from the perceived quality of the build. It felt a little cheaper than it is, because I just don't like hearing that rattling. It's kind of annoying. And as a plinker, I'm never going to use this in a Nerf war, so I'm not going to need to quickly switch out the spring to fit with a group of people at a certain FPS limit. So I personally wouldn't mind having to use an Allen key if it meant shutting this up. Next, this magazine release is super touchy. I accidentally dropped the mag about a dozen times during my testing procedure. You barely have to apply any pressure at all to drop the mag out like that. And it feels like the mag release is super close to the grip, so I accidentally just fluttered my fingers and I kept dropping the mag. This contrasts with the old 3D printed version, which has the same button design, but it lacks the lever. So when you wanted to get this mag out, you had to be a little more intentional with it. So I wouldn't mind that being a little stiffer and a little less touchy. It is a bolt-action sniper rifle after all. If you're going for super speed, go buy a flywheeler. Don't use a bolt-action shell ejecting blaster with a 7-round capacity. This is all about savoring your shots, not trying to rush to a quick reload. And I might be totally alone in my last complaint, but hear me out. This magazine width just makes this whole blaster look like a pistol caliber carbine, which really pulls away from the sniper rifle feel. This looks like a little 45. When you shoot in a sniper rifle, you want to feel like you're using a bigger caliber. I like the option of having these longer mags for a 7-round capacity, but I'd also like to see an option for a cooler looking magazine. Maybe something with a fake bottom end that mates with this mag well. So when it's inserted in the blaster, it gives the illusion of it being higher caliber. It just cosmetically would look more like a sniper rifle. These skinny magazines just make it look like a 45 in a pistol caliber carbine. Maybe that's just me though. It is a Nerf gun, and I get the cosmetics of this compared to firearms are going to be different. But the cosmetics on a plinking toy and an emotional blaster like that seem to be more important. It's not all about utility. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. So those are my 3 complaints about this blaster. They might be insignificant, but they are worth noting. So that's my opinion. Now to the question, to buy or not to buy. Obviously, if you're a stock class nerfer, no, this shoots way too hard, 230 FPS, are you serious? And next, if you're a competitive nerfer at all, using a shell ejection blaster is just not that practical. Especially a bolt action 7-round blaster, it's not that effective in Nerf wars. However, if you're a plinker, if you're a target shooter, if you're looking to feel like a sniper, yeah, definitely consider this blaster. The action is so smooth. Shooting this thing is so much fun. And it shoots lasers, man. It's so accurate. Target shooting this thing is fun. You got the pick rails so you can put a bipod on, a cool looking airsoft scope, and you can really feel like a sniper. And the shell ejection is of course super fun to use. If you're looking for that sniper emotional reaction to your target shooter or plinker, yeah, definitely check this one out. It's just such a solid blaster. Super fun to use. However, I was really surprised to see that the asking price is the same as the 3D printed version. We've become accustomed to 3D printed blasters being very expensive because they're custom made for the customer. You order it, you choose the colors, and then they go and print it just for you. So that custom print and the labor of assembly kind of make the high price make sense. But this thing's injection molded, which is definitely way cheaper to produce. They make them in mass, they assemble them in mass, it's a whole different process. So I was super blown away that they're asking the same price. I was expecting this one to come in at about $120. Granted, they say the injection molded version comes with a few mags and a few spring options, but I still can't make sense of the price. But I feel super weird complaining about the price because they're the same price and the injection molded is better than the 3D printed in every single way. Now that this is out, don't go buy 3D printed. Injection molded all the way. It's lighter, the balance is better, the action is way smoother, and you don't have that 3D printed whining noise. So I can't really justify why I'm upset that this is $200 when this is $200 and this is better. It's just the profit margin is obviously way, way higher on this, so it's kind of messing with my head a little. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But if you're looking for a shell ejecting blaster that's bolt action, super accurate, and shoots super hard, this is the way to go. It's absolute best in class. Granted, it's only got one competitor and it's its kid brother, but it's still best in class. So I don't know, that's kind of a sloppy purchase recommendation. Hopefully I've laid out all the information you need to make an educated purchase decision. If you'd like to buy one of these, I'll put a buy link in the description box below. That's it for this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical. Also, new merch design, check out the link in the description if you want a shirt. Support the channel and look more tactical.